Final Fantasy is officially the best-selling set of all time. So much so that it became this even before it was released. Since then now, it's still flying off the shelves. The gift bundles just dropped as I record this, and they're almost entirely sold out as people are trying to scoop up the last of the collector boosters that will ever be printed for Final Fantasy. It's pretty safe to say we're in a new era of how people gather their magic. Despite this being a standard power level set, it's appearing everywhere now in Commander. That's due in no small part due to the set's popularity, but also Commander being the new player format of choice. But that's not all. I would also argue it's due to the new exciting legendary creatures and set mechanics for Commander that Final Fantasy introduced. Of those, I'd like to today break down, in my opinion, the most interesting and powerful of the bunch introduced. Summons are a new saga type that merge creatures with one of Magic's most quietly supported card types in recent years, and are set to be one of the most powerful, and believe me when I say explosive playstyles you can bring to your next Commander pod. Not only did we get a bunch of new commanders that directly support the archetype, like Yuna, Hope of Spira, who can resurrect game-ending threats the turn you play her, but there are plenty of previously existing commander options who directly support summon and saga-focused playstyles. As I break down the new Summon All-Stars, feel free to leave a like and share your summon ideas in the comments. It's been great seeing your ideas, and I always look forward to reading what you guys have been cooking. Let's run down what we got with Final Fantasy. There are a total of 30 summons across both the main and Commander set, ranging from early game role players to splashy game ender threats. If you want to win with summons, you have about 3 choices, and all of these have the potential to end the game on their own. Of them, you'll find Knights of the Round the easiest to utilize and break, being able to swarm the board turn after turn. Token doublers like Anointed Procession, its 3 mana sibling in Renewed Solidarity, and the latest Elspeth, Slayer of Storms, will enable the hell out of a card like this, letting you easily overrun the board. Finish off the game by pairing this with cards like Moonshaker Cavalry, aka Craterhoof Behemoth in white, which will turn those knights into evasive beaters. And you can safely rely on the summon itself being able to stick around through its resiliency in Indestructible. All in all, Knights of the Round will find a home in plenty of decks, not only including token decks, but also Knight Typal, and really any white deck looking for a reliable and hard to answer game-ending threat. But if your Commander deck doesn't have access to white, you are still in luck, because you can make use of our next summon in Bahamut. Being colorless, this dragon can appear in nearly any Commander deck and threatens to end the game on the spot, should it reach the final chapter of the saga. There are a few hurdles to cross to get there, however. Firstly, unlike Knights, Bahamut can be more easily removed as he lacks any kind of protective keywords. And as a 9/9 flyer, this is likely to draw some attention pretty quick. The final mode of Bahamut, as I said, can easily end the game outright, but it's locked behind Chapter 4, giving your opponents a lot of time to be able to answer it. With all these problems, I might be making this card sound weak, but that's because this card was made to be played unfairly. Where I expect Bahamut to see the most Commander play will be that he turns up in decks built to activate Mega Flare as soon as possible. Expect to see him alongside Proliferate effects to accelerate to the final step and immediately blow the table up with massive damage. Bahamut also pairs exceptionally well with Barbara Wright from the Doctor Who set, whose ability to read ahead will ensure Mega Flare goes off the turn you play him. Alternatively, Bahamut also joins the long list of great reanimation targets, and as I will cover in the Commander section of this video, there are a few commanders able to resurrect sagas, and I suspect Bahamut will be one of your premier targets due to its ability to be played across all colors. The other endgame summon you can look to get out is actually the cheapest of the 3, but packs the most on-the-nose game-winning ability of the bunch. Primal Odin, when it gets to Chapter 2, gains the ability to make an opponent instantly lose the game, should they be dealt combat damage by it. On its own, this would appear to be only single-player focused, but with the correct support, this can be extended to the rest of the table. Primal Odin has a great home in Rakdos, where it can combine with Red's ability to have multiple combats, where you can look to hit each player with this creature on the same turn it gets this ability. As a creature with no keywords, it does have a vulnerability to being chump blocked, which is why pairing it with a keyword that gives evasive like flying or menace helps ensure it finds its target. In particular, however, trample can be a problematic keyword for opponents to deal with, since any damage that tramples over the opponent's creature will result in them losing the game on the spot. Perhaps the nicest thing about Primal Odin is that you aren't entirely reliant on ending the game with him. From the moment you play him, he can destroy a creature with his first chapter, and if he does fail to find his mark on the second chapter, he can peace out by drawing you a bunch of cards and draining your opponents. Outside of Haymakers, summons also provide great early game utility. We've got a bunch that can make excellent synergistic pieces in a variety of decks. Summon Fenrir is the 3-mana ramp spell of the bunch, which doubles as an early game creature, and to top it all off, even draws us a card on the way out. I would go as far as to say this is among the best ever 3-drop ramp spells we've ever had, being able to find not only any basic land type, but also shore up one of the core weaknesses of early ramp in being vulnerable to aggro. Previously, to get a creature in ramp, you had to look to cards like Wood Elves, a measly 1/1 that only finds forests, or Topiary Stomper, a 4/4 that can't block or attack until you get 7 lands. Fenrir does this better, and by being a 3/2, it's a massive upgrade, able to trade evenly with many creatures being played at the same time. Beyond ramping, there are plenty of other great utility summons. Brynhilda provides red with an extra card from exile, and gives haste to the first creature you play for the next 2 turns. Haste and extra resources are the cornerstones for powerful aggressive decks these days in Magic, and the utility Brynhilda provides are going to be relevant at all stages of the game, particularly in a color that always has struggled with card draw. Esper Origins appears to be an underwhelming sorcery at first, but does flip into a juiced up summon if you are able to cast it from your graveyard. All 3 modes of this summon, Esper Marduin, are seriously good, offering card draw, a burst of mana, and then potentially a game-ending pump spell for your creatures. The key way to break this card will actually be to cast it from your graveyard without paying its flashback costs through cards like Snapcaster Mage and Songcrafter Mage, or even Past in Flames, which each allow you to cast the card for its original cost while still getting the summon. At a broader level, despite the limited amount of options compared to other older mechanics in Magic, the average quality of summon cards is overall very high, with many of them generally being very strong and fitting in a variety of existing archetypes. Summon Leviathan is a potential one-sided board wipe plus creature in a sea monster, or even just a merfolk themed deck that later also offers you card draw. Summon Titan can be a haymaker in any lands matter type deck, not only milling you possible fuel, but then also bringing it back itself before finally buffing a creature into a one-shot kill. If you want more defensive options, summon Yojimbo will, for only 4 mana, exile a threat, provide a ghostly prison effect for 2 turns, before then piecing out with some ready-to-use treasure tokens. As I'm hoping it's becoming clear, Wizards clearly designed summons to be a broadly commander playable creature type, which can be especially powerful when we pair them with tools originally designed just for sagas. Let's look back now at those commanders I mentioned who are ready to adopt many of these summons I've already talked about. I'll start with the obligatory Tom Bombadil mention, who is the face of 5-color sagas. Tom has the perfect ability to integrate with many of the existing and new summon cards coming into the game, offering his decks the chance to put up more creatures now in a deck that would have traditionally been less creature reliant, outside of the occasional tokens some sagas would make. If you're looking to make the most powerful deck for every summon from Final Fantasy, this is probably your guy. Outside of this, we have 2 existing precons of the past, which will both be happy to adopt many of these new summon cards. Enduring Enchantments, led by Onyxia, is one of several commander options able to reanimate summons from your graveyard. Her precon comes with a unique variety of powerful sagas, and would be very interested in running them alongside the new Abzan-colored summons from Final Fantasy. But perhaps more interesting in this precon is actually the alternative face commander for this deck, Nasi Fablesinger, who not only draws you cards, but will drain your opponents when your summons expire, making her both an engine and a payoff in the same card. I would go out of my way to even say that Nasi Fablesinger has probably shown to be the most powerful of the commanders for summoning, acting as both an engine and a payoff. This dual-purpose power has been seen in past with cards from other archetypes like Prosper and Korvold for treasures, which is widely considered one of the key indicators you can look for to find a top-tier commander for an archetype. And it would seem that the wider commander community has started started to really catch on to this, with Narcy herself going from $3 to as much as 20 since Final Fantasy dropped. I happened to build an Narcy commander deck when her precon came out, and I'll link it below with some updates to the new summon card. If you are looking for a good baseline summon deck that can win the game beyond just summoning creatures, give it a look. The other precon that could look to include summons is the Miracle Worker precon from Duskmorn. By sheer virtue of also being enchantments, a Minotaur, the commander of the deck, is able to significantly cheapen the cost of any summons you draw. The precon has plenty of ways to manipulate the top card of your deck, allowing you to pretty reliably put in a 2-mana Primal Odin or 5-mana Bahamut into play. Beyond precons, there are actually plenty of interesting commanders in Assassin's Creed, funny enough. Ivar, Wolfkiss, and Sigurd, who in different colors each offer benefits to playing summon types. In particular, Sigurd offers a cheap-costed commander able to manipulate the amount of counters on your summon, or alternatively, remove the counters, allowing them to be prolonged and stick around on the battlefield longer. This also means you can repeatedly cash in on a particular chapter and continuously generate value, should you be able to keep both your commander and your summon of choice alive. For other commander decks able to manipulate the lore counters on your saga, Garnet from the Final Fantasy set can pull this off, but you can also look to the original Atraxa for her ability to proliferate, or the lesser known Xavier Sal infested captain, who can populate tokens you control while removing counters from your summon. Alternatively, he can sacrifice said tokens to then speed up your summons should you require abilities faster. One synergy I've seen missed often with the summons is how they fall under the historic permanent type. For reference, any artifact or saga or legendary permanent is considered historic, and there are several neat ways to incorporate summons alongside this. Notable commanders include the 6th Doctor, who can be partnered with a Doctor's Companion of your choice to give you access to a 3rd color of your choosing. Also from Doctor Who, Alistair the Brigadier can look to lead a go-wide summon deck, able to buff the summons and tokens you might make alongside them. Back to universes within, Johora, Weatherlight Captain, will let you draw off every summon you play, making them an interesting high-power summon option in Izzet. If you are looking to be a purist and stick with a Final Fantasy only style deck, using only a commander from the set, there are probably 3 clear frontrunners I would recommend to use for summons. Garnet, who I mentioned earlier, Terra, and Yuna. Each of these offers a different style of gameplay, with Garnet being focused on counter manipulation, letting you double dip on triggers. Yuna brings the resurrection theme, and Terra offers duplication and the ability to play all summons across the 5 colors thanks to her other side having a 5-colored ability. If Tom Bombadil was too one note of a commander for you and you're looking for a suitable replacement, give her a go. Now let's finish on a flash through of other generally synergistic mechanics and cards you can look to run to get the most out of your summon. Enchantment players love to play a group of cards often referred to as the Enchantress archetype. Effectively, these are weak-bodied but cheap creatures that offer card draw whenever you cast an enchantment, making them great to curve into summon. Of them, Sithis Harvest's Hand is probably the frontrunner and most well-known of this archetype now, but there are plenty of more flexible options across green and white that you can look to run. If you're in blue, you can also look to consider Entity Tracker as a better statted enchantress with flash that sports the Eerie keyword, another great synergistic ability with summons. Other cards with this keyword include Ghostly Dancers, able to return an enchantment of choice to your hand from your grave, but also creates an army as you summon more creatures. These are evasive tokens with 3 power and flying, which, in a summon deck, will very quickly add up to a large amount of damage you'll be able to dish across the table. At uncommon, Optimistic Scavenger is one of the better openers a summon deck can bring out, being a 1-mana card able to buff itself or even other creatures, courtesy of the Eerie keyword. The other Eerie card worth mentioning is Fear of Sleep Paralysis, which in a summon deck can lock down an opponent's board, making their toughest creatures unable to react as each new summon results in a new target being stunned and unable to do anything. Outside of Eerie, Proliferate allows you to trigger multiple abilities in a turn, but can also act as a double-edged sword, as you want to make sure you aren't burning out your summons too fast. To reduce the counters you're adding, Nesting Grounds offers the ability to move counters on a land, which can be a big help when you have no other way to do so on the board. Resourceful Defense is an often forgotten about enchantment that can shift the counters off of expired summon, which can then let you chain together a domino effect of summoning triggers. In addition, it also has an activated ability allowing you to control the specific number of counters you wish to move around. More importantly, allowing you to remove counters to prolong a summon's lifespan. If you are really looking for power, the Ozolith uniquely works with lore counters on summons because they are also creatures. You can bottle them up and then drop drop them on Bahamut when you are ready to win the game. Lastly, we have 3 legendary creatures that, while could be summon commanders in their own right, I feel have a better role to play in the 99 of decks. Satsuki Living Law, Goldberry River Daughter, and Victor Valgavoth Sentinel all offer unique support for playing summons in your deck. If many of these cards were foreign or unheard of to you, don't be bothered. This is an archetype that really has been in the background for a while now, and it's not really been particularly powerful until now. Hopefully, seeing all the new options and possibilities in this video has inspired you to try and build a summon deck of your own. If you've made it this far, thanks for all your support, and consider subscribing if you want me to dive into more mechanics like this. Till then, see you in the next one. Cheers!